just recently I moved to Alaska and I wanted something for bear defense. So I wanted to go over a little bit of how I came to the conclusion of getting this Springfield XDM 10mm. So I spent hours and hours going over a ton of the differences in brand you could go, even in caliber and platform as well. So I wanted to maybe compile a lot of that information that I found. I'll pretty much just go over a few things. I'll go over why I came to the 10mm caliber, why I went with Springfield as a brand, and then why I ended up on the XD platform. So first off, 10mm caliber. There's a lot of great bear rounds out there. You can definitely go bigger than 10mm. You could go up to 357, 44. Generally, I don't hear people going any smaller than 10mm. So that begs the question, is 10mm enough, right? And in my experience, I don't have any personal experience having to use this 10mm for self-defense, but one thing that I do know is I have a family relative who was in a bear defense situation, where he was charged by a full adult grizzly bear, and he had with him a Glock 20, which is chambered in 10mm, and he saw some signs that there were bears in the area. So because of that, he actually drew and was ready when he was charged by the bear. He tried to empty his mag, which is a 15-round capacity. He got 13 rounds off before it actually jammed on him. But the moral of the story is 10mm was enough. So hearing stories like that from someone that I personally know, that I hear firsthand, as well as many other stories of guys, gave me confidence that 10mm was enough. So I was confident with the power of that caliber. And then as well, if you do go any bigger than 10mm, up those other rounds I was talking about, 357, 44, you can get bigger than that as well, but you're pretty much going to have to leave the mag-fed platform. And while I'm doing this, I'll show you real quick that we are clear here. But you're going to have to leave the mag-fed semi-auto platform and go closer to something like a revolver that has a cylinder able to hold those heavier bullets. And generally speaking, once you get into the revolver series, you're only going to get 6-round capacity. Like I mentioned, generally with 10mm, you're going to have around 15 rounds, which is more than double. So because of all those reasons, I thought 10mm was going to be a good option. And so far, I've been really satisfied with it. So on top of the capacity, that was a big issue, is recoil management as well. Here in a second, we're going to shoot over to the range, and I'll go over that a bit more. But for a beginner, I don't know if 10mm is going to be the most friendly option, but I will say that none of those heavier, hotter bear loads are going to be any friendlier, in my opinion at least. So I do think it is, if you're just getting into bear defense, I do think it's a great option for that. So moving forward, why did I go with Springfield specifically? Well, there's really just one big reason, and that is I grew up with Springfields, but specifically my dad was a really big Springfield guy, and he had just about 3 Springfields that we shot, our entire childhood, probably put 1,000 or more rounds through those 3 guns each. And one thing that we weren't really great at growing up was ever cleaning our firearms. So we went, from very young until now in my adult life, where there wasn't a time that we sat down and really took those guns apart and cleaned them. So there's going to be a lot of buildup in those. And despite that, we never had a single malfunction, which I didn't really realize, growing up, how wild that actually was and how reliable Springfield can really make a firearm. So looking back, and now that I've kind of learned a little bit more about firearms, learned about the importance of cleaning them, it really goes to show that they can keep their reliability for long periods of time. I definitely don't recommend not cleaning your firearms, but in a pinch, it seemed to me at least that Springfield would get the job done. So that was one of the main reasons why I had my attention turned towards Springfield. And then the XD platform specifically offers the stock magazines that come with this firearm are 16-round capacity. So that's really cool, because a lot of the competitors, if you're looking at Glock, SIG, Smith & Wesson, FN, all of those come with, at least as far as I'm concerned, a 15-round capacity magazine plus 1 in the chamber. And you can, of course, for I think pretty much all of those manufacturers, you can get extended magazines that are going to come down a bit further and offer you 2, 3, maybe a little bit more extra rounds of capacity, but out of the box, this Springfield XD series right here gives me just one more round. So is one extra round going to change the outcome of any given self-defense situation? I'm not sure that it will, but in the option that I do have a choice to go with that extra round, I'm always going to take that. So out of the box, you get one more round than any other competitor I saw. This is, I mentioned earlier, the XDM Elite. So it's the XD platform, but the M is going to be your match grade barrel. So out of the box, you have an upgraded barrel on this guy, which for me is a pretty big selling point, combined with the Elite at the end of that, which is your upgraded trigger right there. And both of those are features that I absolutely love. I have heard some stories of people firing some hard cast, heavier load 10 millimeters. When they take it home to clean, they take the barrel out and they find that their barrel has been shredded a little bit by that harder cast, heavier load. With the upgraded match barrel, that's not going to be an issue. And then on top of that, I just really enjoy this trigger. I think I'll show you guys one more time. Right here we are clear. And I just want you to see this trigger. I'll go from this side. You pull back and you hit a wall. It's not a super hard wall, and then you push through. Not a lot of trigger travel on that. And then if we wanted to do a quick reset, you can see still not much travel there for your reset, and the pull is really light. So I love the feel of it. The barrel's done really well for me as well. Just out of the box, there's nothing that I believe that you need to change on this firearm. So you can literally go buy this, no need to get that extended mags, no need to order those separately because you already have 16, no need to buy an upgraded barrel or trigger. And in my opinion, if you want to pick one of these up, it's pretty much setting you up for success, not having to go out and do extra research and find other things to change around and upgrade. In that same breath, the sights on this I love as well. You have the U sight in the back with this red dot for a front sight. I've just been really able to line those up quickly, and I've just enjoyed shooting it all around. It's a ergonomic gun. They do have the ambidextrous controls for it. So you have the mag drop on either side right here and the slider release on both the right or left, which as a right-handed shooter doesn't affect me a ton, but I do like the idea of just having that in case I ever wanted to train a little bit more with my left hand. It's not something I would ever have to work around. It just comes pre-set up for that. This one right here is also the OD green it's a Sportsman's Warehouse exclusive. So you get the darker green color on the slide right here and a little bit on the back of the grip. And I just went with that because I thought it was a nice color, make it mine, a little more unique than maybe just the black or the flat dark earth that are the other colors you can get this in. So for price point as well, right now on Sportsman's Warehouse, this same one with the 4.5 inch barrel is going to start at only about 600, 650, somewhere around there. And I don't think you're gonna find it for more than 700. So for a $600 to $700 gun, in my opinion, that when you're getting the reliability, the extra capacity, the ergonomics of it, it's gonna be hard to beat that out. So those are all some of those little reasons why I went with this Springfield. But enough chatting about it. Let's jump over to the range and we'll see how she shoots. All right, so I have just one round of this 200 grain range ammunition, this Blazer stuff. A lot of people have said that this cheaper ammunition, especially the range ammo for 10 millimeter, is only loaded with as much powder as they load up a 40 Smith & Wesson. So some people have some strong opinions on that, but we do also have this 220 grain Buffalo bore. These are bare rounds, so maximum amount of lead you can put in a 10 millimeter, maximum amount of gunpowder in there as well. What I'm gonna do is I'll shoot this range ammunition first. That's what I have right here. I want you guys to see a little bit of the recoil, how I can manage that, and then we'll load up one round of Buffalo bore and do the same thing. All right, 220 grain buffalo bore bear load right here.
Oh, I felt that.
So obviously a lot heavier. So we are back at it with these buffalo bore 220 grain. 10 millimeter, when it was originally designed, was actually intended to be a 180 grain bullet. It's like these Blazer ones are going to be 200 grain, and that's a little closer to what a lot of bear loads are, despite these just being range ammunition. These, however, the true bear loads are 220 grain, so 40 more grain than the 10 millimeter was originally intended to be. Because of that, I've heard of a lot of 10 millimeters really not being able to handle these 220 buffalo bore grain bullets. So because I wanted to be familiar with the type of ammo that I was using or going to be using for bear defense, I have bought one pack of these 20 rounds, and I put it completely through downrange and not a single malfunction, which gave me a lot of confidence. So I already mentioned I have 16 of these that I keep in a magazine for when I'm hiking, and I have 4 more that I will be shooting today. So I've already shot one of those for recoil comparison. Now I've got 2 loaded in here, 1 more is going in, and I'm just gonna show you if I can get 3 shots quickly downrange. I'll be shooting our steel target, so we'll see 1, if I can get any on target, and 2, just a little bit of how those follow-up shots look using full bear load, 40 grain, over what 10 millimeter was intended to be, and also just to kind of continue testing this Springfield right here to see if it will ever have an issue shooting such a heavier bullet than it was intended to shoot. So you can shoot them quick. I was pulling the trigger. You feel it in your wrist, especially after shooting 3 in a row. I was dancing around the target there. My initial shot as well, I was just pulling the trigger. I think I was within the shape of a bear. The steel target's a lot smaller than a bear, of course, but as far as accuracy goes, speed shooting like that, I feel comfortable with it. Follow-up shots using that bear load, I feel comfortable with it. If it's able to handle such a heavy and hot load, I feel comfortable with it. We've got a full magazine right here that is 16 shots, range ammunition. We're going to do a mag dump. Just continuing to try to get this thing to jam. Sometimes just very quick shots can get a gun to stovepipe, catch something not fully seat. So we'll be testing whether it can get 16 rounds fully off, but also just seeing kind of in the same theme of how quickly I can get them down range and how often I can hit my target. We've upgraded from our steel target that's about 6 inches wide to a paper box, cardboard box out there. It's slightly closer to the size of a bear. So let's do 16 rounds. It's quick. When you do 16, you feel the recoil. I'm interested to look back and see how many of those I got on the box. Crazy. That is crazy.
Wait, well,
what can we say? You gotta shoot more.
In the video.